Hello. Welcome to day 10 of the 31 days of Halloween. 31 scary/spooky stories in 31 days. Today's story is entitled, The Hive.
Haunted town, ancient sins, malevolent bees. Wise Elias leads a fight for survival.
And now, without further ado, let's get this show started. Also, just to be transparent, these 31 stories in 31 days are only possible because of AI, with my human involvement overseeing it.
Chapter 1. The Awakening. The quaint rural community of Black Hollow was nestled between rolling hills and vast farmlands. A place where everyone knew each other, where children played in open fields and neighbors shared their harvests. Days were marked by the sun's position in the sky and the crow of roosters. On the outskirts of town, Farmer Mitchell tilled his land as he had done for decades. But that morning, his plow struck something hard. Clearing the dirt away, he discovered a peculiar, ancient hive. The intricacy of its design hinted at its age, and a curious aura surrounded it. Despite his reservations, curiosity won over, and he pried it open. A black, dense swarm erupted, covering the sky, and in its midst was a haunting hum that seemed to vibrate the very soul. The following days saw an odd shift in Black Hollow. Mrs. Williams, the town's baker, started baking endless loaves of the same bread, never stopping, even when the bread towered over and spilled out of her shop. Young Timmy, known for his lively spirit, simply stood by his front porch, humming an eerie tune that mirrored the haunting drone of the bees. Whispers of the strange bee infestation spread like wildfire. Parents warned their children to stay indoors, farmers covered their crops, but nobody truly understood the gravity of the situation. That was until they noticed the vacant stares of those stung, their minds far away, trapped within a hive of darkness.
The call came on a warm afternoon. My old radio crackled, the voice of Mayor Jenkins breaking through.
Elias, we need you. Something's wrong with the bees.
I'd lived in Black Hollow my entire life, and beekeeping had been my family's trade for generations. I knew every hum, buzz, and dance of the bees. But this was different. The weight in the mayor's voice, the unease that hung in the air, it all hinted at something far more sinister. Pulling on my beekeeping suit, I assembled my team, seasoned beekeepers who'd faced swarms and infestations before. Yet, as we approached the epicenter, I felt an unshakable dread. My gut churned, sensing an ancient malevolence we were about to face. We'd been called in for our expertise, but as I gazed at the black swarm clouding the horizon, I realized we might be dealing with something that wasn't just part of the natural world. The very essence of Black Hollow was at stake, and we were the last line of defense.
Chapter 2. The Spread.
The days following our first encounter with the swarm felt like a dream. Or rather, a nightmare. Everywhere I turned, I saw more and more of Black Hollow's once vibrant residents turned into empty vessels. Their eyes, devoid of emotion or recognition, haunted my every waking moment. The bees, it seemed, were intent on claiming every last soul. My team and I wasted no time. We began our investigations, meticulously charting the areas of infestation and monitoring the behavior of the afflicted. What we discovered was a chilling pattern. Once stung, the individual would become part of a hive mind, acting in unison with others under the same dark influence. It was as if their very souls were ensnared, their free will stripped away. It was during one of our sample collection outings that the true gravity of our situation hit home. Jenna, my protégée, and like a daughter to me, was caught off guard. I'll never forget the sound of that lone bee buzzing past my ear, then the sharp gasp from Jenna as it stung her. Watching her familiar, fiery spirit drain from her eyes and be replaced with that hollow gaze was a gut punch. We had to act, and quickly. Poring over old manuscripts and reaching out to beekeeping communities far and wide, we stumbled upon tales of a queen bee, one that held dominion over her subjects in ways far beyond the natural order. This wasn't just a queen bee, she was an entity, ancient and powerful. She seemed to be the source, the puppeteer pulling the strings. The situation was spiraling, and I knew we needed the community's collective strength. I organized a town meeting, hoping to galvanize our residents and rally a defense. But as we congregated in Black Hollow's town hall, it quickly became apparent we weren't alone. The once familiar faces of neighbors, now under the Queen's control, sabotaged our proceedings, turning the gathering into chaos. I stood amidst the pandemonium, feeling the weight of our plight. This wasn't just a battle for our town, it was a battle for the very essence of who we were. We had to find a way to break the Queen's hold. We just had to.
Chapter 3. Delving into the past.
As days turned into nights and back into days, I felt an inkling of a memory. Something from my childhood, a story my grandmother used to tell me, whispered late into the night by the fireplace. She spoke of a queen bee, a monstrous entity with a thirst for control, who once wreaked havoc across ancient lands. This queen wasn't just content with a territory, she desired minds. But, as the legend went, ancient beekeepers, our ancestors, using their knowledge and unity, managed to seal her away. With newfound determination, my team and I scoured the region for clues. Ancient manuscripts, libraries, and consultations with historians became our daily routine. Among dusty scrolls and faded ink, we found it. The legend spoke of a concoction, a blend of rare herbs that had the power to sever the link between the queen and her subjects. It was a sliver of hope, but it was all we had. The preparation was not without its challenges. The controlled townsfolk, drawn to us as if sensing our intent, constantly ambushed our safe havens. More than once, I found myself in a tight spot, battling my own neighbors, desperately trying not to harm them while fending them off. But with every attack, our resolve only grew stronger. Finally, the day came when the concoction was ready. Jenna, still with that haunting emptiness in her eyes, was our first test. We administered the solution, and what felt like an eternity passed in mere seconds. And then, life blinked back into her eyes.
As the haze lifted, the memories came crashing in waves. Being part of the hive mind wasn't just being controlled, it was a cacophony of voices, a relentless drone of commands, and a suffocating darkness. I remembered seeing through 1,000 eyes, feeling a collective purpose, but devoid of any personal will. The Queen's voice was omnipresent, a whisper that grew into a scream, demanding, commanding, and ensnaring. I felt the pain of every sting, the pull to expand our territory, and the burning desire to serve the Queen. But amidst this chaos, there was also a profound sadness, a longing that seemed ancient and deep. Breaking free from this hive mind was like gasping for air after being underwater for too long. But the scars of that experience, they would remain with me forever.
Chapter 4. Into the Hive.
The weight of our task hung heavy as dawn broke. The concoction in hand, the knowledge from our ancestors guiding us, and the stakes higher than ever, we knew what we had to do. It was time to face the Queen and end her reign. We journeyed toward the epicenter of the hive, a location that once was Farmer Mitchell's quiet field, now a pulsating, buzzing nightmare. Every step we took was met with resistance. Massive swarms, dense and dark as the night, sought to envelop us, their collective hum an eerie reminder of the Queen's power. And then there were our townsfolk. Seeing friends and neighbors, their minds ensnared, coming at us with vacant expressions and a single-minded purpose, was heartbreaking. But we pushed through, using the concoction to free as many as we could along the way. But nothing could prepare us for the sight of the Queen. She wasn't just a bee, she was an entity, ancient and twisted, a monstrous amalgamation of countless bees, bound together by some dark force. Her very presence seemed to distort the air around her, and her eyes, oh, those eyes, were pits of ancient malice. We employed every tactic we knew. Using smoke to disorient her, drawing her attention with strategically placed honey traps, and employing the concoction as a weapon. For a moment, it seemed as if we had the upper hand. But she was resilient. Every time we thought we'd subdued her, she came back, fiercer and angrier. The battle took its toll. Samuel, a young beekeeper with dreams of starting his own apiary, was overwhelmed by a swarm. Margot, my old friend and confidant, sacrificed herself to buy us time to reach the heart of the hive. Their losses fueled our determination. Deep within the hive, the air thick with tension, we found it. The heart. A pulsating, glowing core, tethered to the queen, the source of her power. With newfound resolve, we knew this was our chance to end the nightmare.
Chapter 5: The Final Confrontation.
Our confrontation with the queen was the stuff of legends. As we battled, every ounce of our combined knowledge, every story, every tactic from our beekeeping ancestors, was put to the test. With each strategic use of the concoction, the queen's hold over the swarm waned, and we could see a shift in the tide. But amidst the chaos, I felt a pull, an inexplicable need to approach the queen. With caution, I ventured closer, and as I did, I felt a connection, a communication not of words but of emotions and intent. Through this, I began to grasp the queen's motives. Her reign, her need for control, was born out of desperation and an ancient longing. As our battle raged on, a distant sound caught my attention. Turning my gaze to the horizon, I saw it, the entirety of Black Hollow, every man, woman, and child, marching toward us. Their determination was palpable, and it dawned on me that, despite the fear and the uncertainty, our community was rallying behind us. Their sheer numbers, their collective will, began to shift the balance further, aiding our fight. The sun began to set, casting the field in an amber hue. With one final push, we managed to diminish the queen's control almost entirely. But as we regrouped, catching our breaths and tending to our wounds, a heavy, ominous silence settled. The queen, though weakened, was not defeated. And as her piercing gaze locked onto mine, I felt a chill run down my spine, realizing that this battle was merely the prelude to something far more daunting. Chapter 6: Nature's Balance. To be continued.
Chapter 6: Nature's Balance.
The stillness of the moment was deceptive. The queen, weakened and subdued, looked defeated, but there was an awareness in her eyes, a consciousness beyond any creature I'd ever encountered. She began to hum softly, a low, mournful tune. And within that hum, a flood of images and emotions cascaded into my mind. It was like watching a tapestry of time unravel. I saw Black Hollow as it once was, a pristine haven nestled within nature, a sanctuary where every creature, plant, and stone lived in harmony. But then, the tide shifted. As the years rolled on, the land was exploited, forests felled, waters polluted, and the very soul of the land silenced. Our ancestors, blinded by ambition and progress, had transgressed against the very nature that cradled them. The queen, it seemed, wasn't just a malevolent force, she was nature's answer, its defense mechanism against the wounds inflicted upon it. Her purpose wasn't domination but restoration. The bees, their control over the minds of the townsfolk, was a desperate attempt by nature to reset the balance. As the truth sank in, I shared this revelation with the rest of the beekeepers and our community. The weight of our past, the responsibility of our ancestors' actions and our own complacency, lay heavy on our hearts. We tried, in those following days, to reverse our wrongs, to restore the balance ourselves. We replanted trees, cleansed the waters, and did everything we could to make amends. But nature's clock doesn't work on human timelines. Despite our efforts, the bees persisted, their control wavering but never truly releasing. It became clear that Black Hollow's fate had been sealed long ago. The town, once bustling and alive, turned into a shadow of its former self, a somber reminder of nature's wrath and its demand for balance. The townsfolk, including my friends, family, and even myself, succumbed to the hive mind, becoming a part of the very force we had fought against. As I felt my individuality ebbing away, one last thought crossed my mind: this wasn't a punishment, but a lesson. A plea from nature itself for respect, understanding, and balance. And I could only hope that somewhere, someday, this tale would be told as a reminder of that sacred balance.
Leave your thoughts about the hive. See you tomorrow for day 11 of the 31 days of Halloween scary/spooky stories.